Hey, Gabrielle, let's take a look at these new essays you have for us. Let's see. Do you think businesses should hire employees who will spend their entire lives working for the companies? Why you agree or disagree. Okay, now it does say agree or disagree. Let's see what you say. It is noticed that companies must hire new member staff permanently. I believe that recruiting employees for their lifetimes would have more drawbacks for a company rather than hiring part-time workers. This essay will analyze this issue and use examples from the Spanish government and Harvard to demonstrate points and support arguments. Okay, there are a couple of things that I want to talk about here. Primarily, it's these two sentences. I thought that the first sentence was kind of unnatural. It is noticed that companies must hire new member staff permanently. It's the word order is awkward and it doesn't really carry a lot of meaning. So I would have preferred something a little different here. Not it is noticed. How about just this? Nowadays, it is common for companies to hire new staff members permanently. That would have made more sense. And then, I believe that recruiting employees for their entire lifetime would have more drawbacks for a company rather than... Now, careful here. Part-time workers are not the opposite of lifetime workers. Part-time just refers to how many hours per day or per week they work. So it should be temporary versus permanent. But even that's not true, okay? Because you can hire somebody as a permanent worker, but then maybe like 2 years or 5 years or even 7 years down the line, he says, you know what? I found another job. Goodbye, I'm leaving. So what you're really talking about is hiring people, like investing in them and working for their entire career versus having people who may be there just a short amount of time. So why don't we try this one more time with some more appropriate language, okay? So it is, what did I say before? I can't remember here. But it is common nowadays for companies to hire new staff members on a permanent basis. I believe that recruiting employees for their entire career would have more drawbacks for a company rather than hiring short-term workers. That's another way of saying it. This says it will analyze this issue, etc. Okay? First of all, it would be more beneficial for businesses to hire new staff members to reduce costs. This is due to the fact that people who work for an extended period of time at the same place, no comma, become more expensive in terms of wages compared to young or new personnel. For example, the Spanish government indicates that young employees are 55% cheaper than employees that work for more than 10 years in the same company. Therefore, it could reduce costs for businesses by recruiting new people. Well, let's try that again. Therefore, it could reduce costs for businesses to recruit new people instead of keeping the same employees for an extended time. Good. That makes sense. Okay. Another reason is that after a couple of years, permanent staff members reduce innovation and not thrive. You want another word. I think you want motivation. And this is a fundamental aspect for the company's future, The reason is that after a couple of years, full-time workers lose their drive and spirit to improve the company, whereas new employees bring more dynamic and new ideas into the team, and this is important for businesses to develop and improve. For example, a recent study by Harvard indicates that a company with not part-time, again, you don't mean part-time. Remember what part-time means. It means like less than 20 hours per week, whereas full-time means over 20 hours, somewhere around 40 hours a week. That's a full-time employer. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like short-term workers, okay? So a company with short-term workers has twice as much profit, that's awkward, twice as much income compared to industries with only long-term workers. Thus, to improve the company's future, It would be more beneficial for them to change their teams during the years. Okay, throughout, I think would be a better word. Okay, to conclude, from the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that it would have more advantages. Would have more advantages for business. That's awkward. Let's try it again. I believe that it would be more advantageous for a business to have short-term workers rather than employees who stay at the company for their entire life because firstly, permanent employees are more expensive and secondly, permanent staff are less innovative and driven, which is essential for a company's future. Therefore, I would not advise businesses to hire people for the rest of their lives. Okay, this is good. You wanted different words for company, business, employees, etc. You know what? None of those words stuck out to me. I never thought to myself at any point in this essay, she keeps repeating this word, she keeps repeating that word. It felt natural. So I'm not going to suggest any other words. I thought all the words you used were fine. That said, if you're looking for other words for a company, you could have said enterprises, you could have said organizations. That's another word instead of company and business. For employees, you could have said, I think you used workers, yeah. Staff members was fine. Members of staff, you could have said. Yeah, I mean, I like the words you use. I don't have a problem with any of those, okay? Use staff members, use personnel, employees, workers, let's see, just staff in general is okay. No, I didn't have a problem with any of this, quite frankly. I thought your vocabulary was fine, all right? So don't worry about it. Nothing stood out to me as being particularly repetitive. So why don't we take a look at this? Remember, this is a stacked bar chart. What's important here is the totals. And then in the second paragraph, you should kind of analyze some of these details, but definitely must look at the totals first. Let's see if you actually did that. The given bar chart illustrates the number of learners of 3 different continents, Africa, Asia, and Europe, in the popularity of 9 different school subjects. Great, you named them, perfect. Overall, of all the nine lessons, maths was the most popular and geography was the least. Let's see. Math, yes, and geography. Good, that's true. In addition, Africa had the lowest number of students. Is that true? Africa. That's true. Whereas Europe and Asia had, per subject, almost similar trends except for art and literacy and maths. Okay, fine. Perfect. Regarding the chart, the most chosen subject was maths with just under 450,000 students. Maths. Yes. This was closely followed by science and literacy, was about 425 and 410 respectively. Geography was the least chosen subject, great, and had around 100,000 fewer learners compared to the most popular program, perfect. Art and languages had similar amounts of students, get rid of the and put an S here. It's just over 400,000. The remaining ING programs were between this and this. Perfect. That's exactly how you should have done this. So good. So we have an idea of the totals in this first paragraph. Lovely. Africa had the highest number of students in the subjects languages. Let's see. What are you talking about? Subjects languages? Okay. Honestly, I think you could have made your life so much easier. I think you could have said that in Africa, all the subjects had less than 100,000 units of popularity with, I guess the closest one really is maths, right? That's the top. Maths having the most popularity. That's it, okay? But let's see what you did. Let me look at it one more time. So Africa had the highest number of students in the subjects languages, literacy, science, and maths. Good. At nearly 100,000 learners. Physical education was the least popular subject with around 55,000 students. Physical. Yes, that's true. Fine. The remaining, you keep saying ED, but it should be ING. Remaining programs were between 60 and 90. Fine. The number of students in Europe was almost equal. Let's see, Europe. What happened in Europe? Let me look quickly. That's true, yeah. Except for geography, which was approximately 3,000 lower. The number of Asian students, yes. Well, it's not the number of Asian students, but it was the popularity among Asian students. It was between 150,000 and 200,000. Don't forget this 0 here. With the most popular subjects in art and with the most popular subjects, art and literacy. Get rid of the in here. And the least popular, physical education and geography. Let's see. Asia, Asia, Asia. It looks like literacy is really popular in Asia. Art is really popular. It's not really clear, is it? It seems to be fairly similar. So honestly, if you look at this, it looks like it's really Africa, which is determining which is the, most popular. Like physical education is really low. But some of these numbers are really rather similar, aren't they? Okay. I think your analysis of this is good. That is actually quite good, Gabrielle. I mean, I like what you wrote. I like that you really have applied some of the stuff that we've talked about in other essays. That's absolutely clear to me in this essay. I thought your organization was great. You talked about the totals in this paragraph. You talked about the details in this paragraph. It was a lot of details, but you talked about them successfully. You didn't bog down with too many details. I mean, what are we really dealing with here? We've got like 27 pieces of information, and you've done this really quite well. Let's see what your word count was. I know it's high, I can tell, but it's still good. Yeah, it was 230 words. It doesn't bother me. If you did this within 20 minutes, then that's fine with me. I thought you did a great job with this, really. Very nice. I want you to be careful with some of your grammar. When you have an adjective, and you've done this in other essays too, when you have an adjective and it's a participle, I'm sorry if I'm using maybe grammar words that you are or aren't familiar with. I never know what people are familiar with. But this is an adjective. It's a participle. In other words, it comes from a verb that we can use as an adjective either with an ing or an ed. You have to remember which we use when. So the remaining programs. What does that really mean? It means the programs which remain. Look at the word remain. It's active voice. Therefore, that should be your clue that it should be in the ing form. However, take a look at this example for instance. If you had the interested students, the interested. Why is it interested? Because what does it really mean? It means the students who are interested. It's passive voice. You've got the ed here. So the adjective form of this would be interest, ed, interested. Okay, that's how you know when to use the ed for the adjective or for the ing. Ask yourself, really, what am I saying? Is this the programs which remain, or is this the programs which were remained? It's not the programs which were remained. Okay, therefore it has to be ing. So that's one little piece of grammar that I want you to work on. I've seen this in some of your other essays before, but now I think it's time to kind of correct this. I thought this was a wonderful task one. I think it's really clear to me that you've been following all the instructions. You've been really applying all the things we've talked about. So great job. It was really good. Okay, keep at it. Let's see what you write next for us. I'll be waiting. Good luck.